The Force of Wills are worse than Pact of Negation.
Yeah.
Since the combo does kill that turn, that is one of the big reasons to play this deck, is you get to play Pact of Negation over some of the softer counterspells like Pierce and, more forces. Pact of Negation to protect the combo, it tries to show and tell in an Omniscience, and then cast Enter the Infinite, and draw its whole deck and kill its opponent. It also has access to Dream Halls instead of Show and Tell. You can either Show and Tell the Dream Halls in, or Dream Halls in the Omniscience. There's a lot of ways to do it.
Yep.
There's no wrong way to eat this Reese's.
The one thing that kind of put this deck over the top was, at the beginning this deck did not have Cunning Wish. People kind of forgot that card existed, and Cunning Wish is kind of the glue that holds the deck together, because it can search for a lot of different things, be it Pact of Negation, Force of Will, or its win condition. In this version, which is Research Development.
Rats! It's Research Development, not Release the Ends.
Yes, which was the original win condition. We've also seen versions with Firemind's Foresight. A lot of cards that a lot of cards that people aren't very familiar with, so if they do come up, we'll definitely bring them up on the screen for you, but it's not that time just yet, as Anderson does have a Deathrite Shaman. He's searching his deck for another land. He's going to find a Scrub land, and it makes you wonder if he knows what he's up against here, as he's going to play a Stoneforge Mystic. Trying to get a clock online, maybe search for the old Batter Skull here?
Yeah, well, the lifelink not too important, the recurability not too important, and even the, turbo access to the 4/4 not that important. But you have to get something going, you have to get some sort of clock on, and in these types of matchups, what makes these combo decks, these show and tell combo decks so good is all of these controlling decks, like half of their quote disruption cards are just completely dead. Like, none of the Swords to Plowshares or Lightning Bolts or any of those Abrupt Decays, none of those cards are any good in these matchups, and we actually see that sort of being enacted here.
So Deathrite Shaman looks like it's going to come across. Todd can leave the mana up so he can actually activate the Stoneforge Mystic, but he does not have a third land to play. So Jack Hatton's going to play a Brainstorm to start his turn off. And again, this deck is much, like you said, very similar to the Sneak and Show deck. It does need more cards to go off, but it does have that manipulation in the form of Brainstorm and Ponder, some cantrips to be able to find what it needs, to be able to go off. It also has Preordain as well as a 4-of. So it's just sculpting and then trying to make one big turn and defend itself with either Force of Will or Pact of Negation.
Yeah, this deck actually has so much card manipulation. It's actually closer to High Titan how much card manipulation it has, with 12 cantrips and an Impulse and an Intuition as Demonic Tutor, and the Cunning Wish toolbox. So definitely a lot of options, a lot of sifting through the deck, find all the pieces that Jack needs to go off.
So I'm going to present that over to Todd. We'll see what his follow-up is going to be this turn. He's got a couple double lands here, too.
Yeah.
Look at the mana base of 19 lands to go with 8 islands, 4 Flooded Shrine, 4 Polluted Delta, and 3 City of Traders. Sometimes you find Ancient Tomb, these type of decks, but you're not going to find any here. You see Hatton going to Preordain, going to put some cards to the bottom. It looks like the cards were Enter the Infinite and Omniscience. So it looks like he's going to move those to the bottom.
Yeah, he looks a little mana light at this point. All these cantrips kind of just trying to find lands, Ooh,
he's going to keep one.
All right.
He's going to keep, it looks like...
Pact of Negation. That one makes sense to keep. If,
yeah.
If not a land, Pact of Negation is just about the best card you can have to sort of back up your combo. As we said, once you go off, you kill the opponent, so it's not a big deal that you'll die next turn, because you don't get a next turn.
One of my favorite things, I don't play combo a lot, obviously, but I did play combo at Pro Tour Philadelphia. I was actually playing the Blazing Shoal Poison deck that Sam Black ended up making top 4 with, and the reason I actually liked that deck was actually Pact of Negation, a card that I played 4 copies of throughout the 75. I love combo decks that have access to Pact of Negation, it just being a free counterspell. Force of Will is obviously a counterspell to help you defend itself, to force through your combo and interact like a Thoughtseize. Right. Pact of Negation is just like this super psychotic, I'm playing this in my deck because when I actually am going off, it's over.
Yeah, you can only use it the turn you're going off, but when you do, it's super efficient, just crazy efficient.
It's the best feeling, just you're going off and you have Pact as defense, or heaven forbid 2 packs. It's yeah, it's go time.
Yeah.
These are free, best of luck.
Yeah.
And we're going to see show and tell right now. So Hatton's going to go for this. And the scary thing is, do I fight back Pact Negation? Because if I'm wrong, this is a nightmare, but he's going to pack. So show and tell's going to resolve.
He has even another pack.
Yeah, he has a backup
pack. Just completely over.
So he puts his card face up, says, yeah, beat this. and Stoneforge Mystic, enter the Infinite.
Wait, Stoneforge Mystic trigger. I get a Jit. I get a Jit, though.
So enter the Infinite.
So we do see Jack draw his entire deck. Now what he's going to do, and this is a pretty technical win condition, the release stance is a lot more simple, but he is going to Cunning Wish for free, again off of the Omniscience, and he's going to find Research and Development, the split card from Dissension, I want to say?
That is correct, look at you.
And he's going to use the Research side, which is sort of like another Wish, but it shuffles the cards into your deck.
Are you sure he doesn't want to develop?
Pretty sure he's going to research, if I had to guess.
All right.
So he's going to research here, and he's going to shuffle Laboratory Maniac into his deck. He is then going to cast another, Brainstorm or Enter the Infinite and Preordain and
whatever.
whatever.
Cast Brainstorm here. I would cast one of the other cantrips.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Any of them but Brainstorm boy.
I'm sorry.
What are you doing here?
I was going to say another Enter the Infinite, and then he can draw the Laboratory Maniac, cast it, and win with the 0-card library.
I know you always. So here is your Laboratory Maniac. You win the game when you have no cards in your deck left to draw.
And he has a handful of Pact of Negations and Force of Will and Cunning Wishes for more copies.
Now we can cast Brainstorm AJ.
Yeah.
Don't cast it before the Maniac, after the Maniac. Easy Brainstorm.
See, this is why I use the Release the Ants kill. It's a lot easier.
Sure. It's much cleaner.
Yes, for those of you who are curious, you enter the Infinite and then put another Enter the Infinite back on top of your deck and Cunning Wish for Release the Ants, and then you just keep clashing, revealing a 12. And you keep winning, and Release the Ants keeps coming back into your hand, and you just keep casting for free off of Omniscience and kill them that way.
Yeah. Now, the fun thing about Omniscience, and there are a lot of them, but the kills that they lead to, because we had the Burning Wish or Petals of Insight, where everyone's like, I don't know what Petals of Insight does. Where you get to just keep looking through your deck, and that became commonplace, where players were just like, the first time they say, they're like, I don't know what you're doing, and now it's like, oh yeah, you're gonna Burning Wish for Petals of Insight, and they're used to it. Now it's like, I'm gonna Cunning Wish for what exactly? Release the Ants. That's not a thing. That's not a real card. So now that's gonna be commonplace, and I can't wait to see what other wonky kill these Omniscient decks are gonna come up with next. Probably gonna involve Living Wish somehow.
Yeah. Golden Wish for the Omniscience in the first place.
Yes, for some psycho. Golden Wish for Obsolescence.
An
Omniscience deck for 10. You see something completely absurd moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's awesome. Every Legacy tournament, just hearing the cards that people are walking around the room looking for. And this morning it was only Tarfire, which isn't that weird. But, the first time that I heard David Williams looking for Petals of Insight, I was just like, what is going on?
Yeah, baby. We got one coming. Jack Hatton, you're up 1. Todd Anderson, you're down 1. Todd, looking through his sideboard. What can you do for help? There's a Disenchant. I think that's a good place to start.
Yep.
Guys of St. Traff, 3 of those. Speed up the clock a little bit. Once he can get ahead a little bit, can stay ahead and get the game over with. 2 Supreme Verdicts, not so much. 2 Meddling Mages, absolutely. We'll come back to that card in just a second, though. 2 Surgical Extractions are okay, because you can make them discard an important card and then surgical them. So that could actually be a thing. Then he's got a Vindicate and Path to Exile. No. 2 Thoughtseizes and Force Will. Yes. But I'm going to go towards Meddling Mage here, because the big question is, what card do you name with Meddling Mage in this matchup?
Well, it's lucky that I Thoughtseize last turn, so I know exactly what to name.
Okay.
But, in the dark, you're going to probably have to name Show and Tell, just to slow it down so you can draw more Disruption. Obviously, Dream Halls is still a kill, but 5 mana is a lot more than 3.
If you name Cunning Wish, can they win?
Yeah, I assume they board in one of their 3 or 4 answers that look like, they're Cunning Wish targets, and they are for game 1. Okay. But you board in just one of them, or at least one of them.
Okay.
So that when you enter the Infinite, you can draw it and then cast it, and then cast your Cunning Wish.
Okay, sure.
So, as I said, this sideboard is 11 one-ofs and then 4 Leyline Sanctity, obviously for the discard. But some of the one-ofs, the Slaughter Pact, the Wipe Away, and the Echoing Truth are really targeted towards the permanent disruption. And Meddling Mage is a prime example of exactly that. So you can, use a Wipe Away, make Todd Anderson pick that up, and then go off. Or if he names the Cunning Wish, you can just go off and then make him pick it up and finish comboing. So that works just fine. I have to assume Leylines are coming in for Jack.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, Leyline's such an interesting card again because, you know, we see in some decks where you can actually cast it.
Yeah.
Others you can't. This one you definitely cannot.
Correct.
So, you know, are you going to mulligan for that card, or are you just going to hope that it's in your first 7, maybe take 1 mulligan down to 6? Because, you know, the first one's very good. The additional ones have diminishing returns, and if you're not going to mulligan for this card like you're going to mulligan for Leyline and avoid against Dredge.
Right.
And, you know, once you find it, haha, jackpot.
Yeah, it's not the auto win.
Yeah, it just makes it a lot harder for them to win.
Yeah. I definitely think you board them in. I don't think you necessarily mulligan. If your 7 is really solid, you just play straight up with a couple dead cards in your deck. And if you happen to have it in your hand, or if your 7's not that good, you kind of get a free redraw.
Yeah.
Redraw to the Leyline, that is. And yeah, and if you do have it in your 7 that's otherwise fine, then it is a huge boon. Yeah. Because as we said, Drew Levin said, one of the biggest weak points of this deck is the pinpoint discard. And Todd has, what, 4 pieces, boarding in at least 2 more?
Yeah. Boards up to 6.
Yeah, and that's a lot. So that is definitely enough to warrant the Leyline of Sanctity sideboard plan here, as we are starting to look at our hands for game 2 with Todd on the play.
See, Anderson has a Force Will. He's got a Brainstorm over there, so I know you'd immediately keep. You're probably good enough with those.
Brainstorm and land? Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. Well, it looks like Todd is pretty happy with his 7 cards, where you're going to see Jack Hatton take at least 1 mulligan down to 6 here. Again, don't know if he's mulliganing down for Leyline of Sanctity or he's just looking for a better hand, but we're going to at least be starting with 6 as Mr. Hatton.
Yeah, I mean, whether he's looking for the Leyline or if his hand was just bad, like I said, it is kind of a free roll. You know, once you're already mulliganing, you're like, yeah, this hand's really good, or really not that good. I can sort of mulligan a little more aggressively than I would otherwise, because I do have this free redraw to this really, really powerful card in Leyline of Sanctity. And it doesn't look like Todd really has a good answer. He's got 1 Disenchant and 1 Vindicate, I guess. For you know, if a Leyline is in play.
Yeah. And would he even? I mean, Disenchant he's gonna board him, obviously.
Yeah.
Vindicate I think is just like super slow, super situational. I think a lot has to go right for that to be a big dagger.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible you just have so many dead cards with like all those Swords to Plowshares and stuff that are so bad that you have to board in a Vindicate. It's like, maybe I'll Mize in that spot. Maybe I'll just use it as a Stone Rain. You know, just anything is going to be better than a Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that found its way into Todd's deck post-board, even though it doesn't seem all that great. Jack mulling over his 6. Doesn't look too happy.
I've seen happier people.
Yeah. I will say Jack is greatly favored in the Beard matchup.
Yeah,
this
is not even particularly
This is just
close.
lopsided.
Might be better, like heavily favored in just the overall hair matchup.
Yeah, the spiked front too. Very similar styles, and I have to say Jack is just dominating Todd in every field.
It's tough to watch.
Yeah, it hurts. Nope, he is going back down to 5, and you know, the redraw to Leyline at 6 is good, but the redraw to Leyline at 5 is actually not that good.
Yeah, much worse.
If you put the Leyline in play, now you got 4 cards. You know, you're gonna have to have lands and the cantrips, and have lots of time from Todd to be able to assemble the combo pieces, because there are quite a few of them, and you're starting so low, and you do need the mana sources. You know, it definitely is a lot harder at that point.
Yeah, and the tough part too now is that Jack Hatton's going to be facing against a deck that is full of discard and counter magic. So, you know, a mulligan to 5 is pretty tough, and the matchup is pretty tough after sideboard too, because they get to decide out most of the garbage does Deathblade and actually get to decide into the goods, and now it's just going to be a streamlined deck of, look at all these awesome discard spells I have in 6, I got some counter magic and Force Wills, got Jason Mind Sculptor if I get the 4 mana, so you don't have much time to mess around, especially on a mulligan to 5.
Absolutely, and we saw, you know, that enacted in game 1 here and last round with Brad Nelson. Just like these control decks had so many dead cards that game 1 you're already so favored, but once they clean up their deck, like you said, and streamline their answers to your deck and what you're trying to do, it gets a lot scarier.
All right, so we are underway. Happy enough with the 5 cards as Hatton, so he's going to start by sacrificing a Blue Delta, get an island, and cast Preordained.
Yep, the cantrip's what you want. He doesn't have the ley line, but it did look like he had, you know, a couple of the pieces together, and he's got a land and a cantrip, so can't ask for much more from 5. You know, at least now you get to play Magic. Look at some cards, try and dig your way back out of it. And a land and a ponder is definitely not too bad.
Oh, Preordained, look at you go. You are wonderful.
You are an all-star. Remember that thing when that thing was in standard and some people refused to play it?
Yeah, like myself.
Was that you?
I would not ever.
I was.
Play it.
That was a dagger at Shaheen Saruni.
I know. as we see in Thoughtseize here. Intuition, Cunning Wish, Show and Tell, Dream Halls, and a Flooded Strand.
So this hand's actually pretty awesome.
For rolling to 5, this hand's actually quite good.
Yeah, plus a Ponder on top of his deck to dig for more lands and a replacement piece of whatever this Thoughtseize is taking.
Yeah.
Definitely could be much worse for Hatton on 5. And
so you're pointing at the Flooded Strand. Do you want that one?
Can't take that one. Sorry, Todd. Todd actually kind of at a loss here. It's just like, well, you have such a diversified thing, and like Intuition can kind of replace whatever you want.
Yeah.
And like, if I take the Show and Tell, then you can just cast the Dream Halls theoretically eventually. And if I take the Dream Halls, then you can just draw something else to Show and Tell, like an Omniscience, So he comes out with taking the Show and Tell, which would be my gut instinct. Sure. I haven't gone through all the iterations, but that would be what I would assume, would be the natural play. And then here comes Ponder. Jack gonna try and fix his draw a little more.
I wonder if this is worth forcing, because I almost kind of want to force this. I might be a little bit crazy, but it almost seems like forcing that isn't like that backwards, because he does have a backup Brainstorm and another discard spell.
I would think that it would be reasonable to force it if you already had a clock. Sure. If there was like, a Delver of Secrets magically in play, then I would think the forcing aggressively there would be fine, because you have a way to close out the game. But to force will here, all you're really doing is Jack's gonna have 5 or 6 more draw steps, minimum. So you're not actually impacting his card selection all that much. All you're doing is sort of slowing it down, but you have no way to capitalize on that sort of time advantage you're giving yourself by spending the force.
All right, so Hatton keeps his top 3. Polluted Delta is the card that he drew for the turn, and now Todd's going to draw another Brainstorm, so he's going to get deep into his deck if he'd like to this turn. Yep. He does have the backup, or can just lead off with a discard spell. But we're going to start by drawing an Underground Sea, a Polluted Delta, and a Vendilion Click. The third one being the most important of the 3.
Yes, Vendilion Click is absolutely awesome. We talked about this a bit last round with Glenn Jones, as Brad Nelson was playing Sneak Attack, Show and Tell. Responding to a Show and Tell with a Vendilion Click is awesome, because you know exactly how much protection they have, and you can just, if they only have one thing that they were going to put into play, you can just take that. Or you can play it proactively, be like, all right, mess with your hand a little, get a bunch of information, plus put the clock into play, where I don't have to tap out a Sorcery Speed. I can keep leaving up my, say, Spell Pierces or Red Elemental Blasts or whatever your disruption is. You don't have to tap out on your own turn, which is pretty important when you have those types of effects. And so we do see the Thoughtseize going down. A Polluted Delta was the card that was pondered into Jack's hand. So the other the 3 spells that Todd could take here, he has already seen, and he does take out the Intuition, which makes sense since it is a redundant piece of whatever Jack wants it to be.
Yeah. So again, Cunning Wish, Dream Halls, and Polluted Delta in Hatton's hand. He did keep it as Ponder, so he does know what the next 2 cards are, assuming he wants to keep them and not sacrifice the Flooded Strand, which he has just shown that he does want to do.
Look like a Force of Will, which, you're going to need that disruption.
City of Traders.
Was it a City of Traders?
City of Traders.
All right, so this is Dream Halls type of line. Normally the deck, 5 mana is a whole lot. You basically just want to get to 3 and then Show and Tell and kill your opponent. But it's also completely reasonable to just cast Dream Halls and then use that. Dream Halls, if you don't know, basically turns all of your cards into a Force Will. It gives them like the same alternate cost. So you can, it's symmetrical, so it also works for your opponent. But you can then use that to actually just straight up cast your Omniscience and or your Enter the Infinite and go off that way.
So Anderson resolves a Brainstorm. He's happy enough, passes the turn back, and sack some fetch lands here, clear off the top of his library. A little surprised to see him sacking 2.
Vendilion.
Yeah, Vendilion. Never mind, I take it back.
Big Daddy Vendilion.
So he wants to get Vendilion Click on the board and start giving Zebby down.
How can a click, a group of beings be legendary?
Well, I don't design it.
I guess the Beatles are legendary. That's like a group of people, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. This is the Vendilion Click. Maybe they're a band.
The Backstreet Boys are legendary.
Whoa.
NSYNC is legendary.
Are you not a fan of that?
We've loosened up.
I don't understand.
The definition of the word legendary.
Is Cricker Patrick not a legend?
So we're going to see a Cunning Wish here in response to Vendilion Click. See he's going to search for. Now, the interesting thing here is that he can Cunning Wish for a card, and then Vendilion Click can take it and put it to the bottom.
Right. And then it's in his deck, so he can't cutting wish for it again.
So this could get a touch awkward.
It is a bit awkward, but he gets a pact negation, which, you know, he has a bunch in his deck anyway, and he's fine with this going to the bottom. And is he casting it? He motioned like he was casting it.
That's because I think he is casting it.
That is aggressive.
I guess he does not want Vendilion Clique on the board at all.
I mean, he does have 5 mana to pay, but I guess you gotta protect that Dream Rolls.
2, 3, 4, 5. All right, this is, I mean, aggressive is the word. This is a very aggressive line here. You're probably wondering how does, Anderson's pointing to the City of Traders asking, you know, how does it work with fetch lands? But it's whenever you play a land, not when a land comes into play. So Pact Negation's going to take care of that. Anderson's going to untap because, of course, that was Hatton's untap on Hatton's end step. He's going to draw. He's going to draw a polluted Delta. So now he can windmill slam down Jace if he wants to, and I'd be hard pressed to see him not do that. Yeah, so here it comes.
You get the turn off. You know your opponent has to pay for the pact.
Yeah.
And
finds a wasteland for the City of Traders, and Hatton's got to back it up because he can't pay the pact and ends up losing the game. So look at you, Jace. Take it down. Or should I give that one to Wasteland?
Probably should give that to Wasteland.
All right.
We saw that a lot in that block constructed format with like Slaughter Pact.
Yep.
If you cast a Slaughter Pact with like Urborg, you know, out of the Teachings deck, Urborg was one of the main black sources thanks to the Tendrils of Corruption. So you would cast your Slaughter Pact to, you know, kill a guy. I got plenty of black with his Urborg, and then they play their own Urborg and Legend rule yours, and you no longer have access to black mana. You just lose. Yep. It happened all the time.
I'm no Teachings master, but Jerry Thompson did trick me into playing Mystic Teachings at a PTQ once, and so it was actually a lot of fun playing a deck like that when I normally don't do that.
It's good to mix it up.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to mix it up back in my younger days. And I was playing in a mirror. We had Slaughter Pact in. It's funny that you bring that card up. And I don't remember what card my opponent was Slaughter Pacting, but I Imps Mischief it back to one of his creatures, knowing that it was irrelevant.
Yeah, but he would forget to pay for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah. So I Imps Mischief it. Don't take any damage because it costs 0.
Right.
And the guy's like, oh, okay, like my like Urza's Factory token said. I'm like, yeah, go.
Haha, gotcha.
Yeah. And then he died. So packs are sweet. I like those.
Yeah. In case you don't know, I'm pretty sure now the trigger just goes on the stack.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, it's technically a default choice, it's a trigger with a default choice, so it's still going on the stack. And I think the punishment of losing the game is pretty severe.
It was a little harsh. You know, obviously back then when that was part of the rules, everyone's like, all right, well, I'm going to try to use it to my advantage.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't a thing where, you know, like I Imps Mischief it, and then I was like, Judge, I got to go to the bathroom. And
people did that, though.
I know. And
people did that.
I walked away for like 5 minutes like, Judge, I got to go do a cartwheel.
Yeah.
All right. It's your upkeep.
People would just create the most convoluted turns where they're just like teaching for teachings or whatever, like not actually doing anything, and they would tank a really long time. They'd be like, did I play a second land? Did I play a land? Did I play 2 lands? You know, just kind of a scummy move.
Yeah.
a little underhanded, but it did happen. Which brings me to one of my favorite Magic stories of all time, Kenji Samura. After GP, what was it? Montreal,
it was in GP Montreal because I was there.
Yeah, Montreal. He top 4s that with Mono Blue Pickles. Completely revolutionized the metagame with that deck. And BDM runs into him at the airport after the tournament, and Kenji's like looking all bummed, and BDM's like, hey Kenji, like what's wrong? Are you sad you lost in top 4? He's just like, no. She's like, why are you so bummed? I mean, you look really down. He's just like, yeah, 5 of my opponents missed their pack triggers. BDM's like, really? He's like, yep, and I could only stop 4 of them before they drew. Yep. Kenji Samura, class act.
Yep.
Class act. Wait, no, you're gonna lose?
Yeah. Just pay! I can beat you straight up, just pay!
Turns down 4, tried to turn down 5 free game wins on its way to a GP top 4. Very awesome. Looks like we are about ready to get underway for game 3. Jack Hatton back on the play, and there is the ley line from 7, the most powerful of ley lines.
Yes. I was wondering if he was actually going to find one. You see him keep his hand. Todd Anderson taking a look at his hand. You see a force of will. Lands. This Hatton's going, you can't stifle this.
Jack falls down to 16, cracking the fetch 4 times.
And Todd has in his hand a force of will, a Dark Confidant, now a Jace for the draw step. But he's going to have to pass the turn back. I think I see a black card there. That's a discard spell, too. That is now off because of Leyline.
Correct. That does not work any longer, Jack. Using the Leyline to blank 6 cards in Todd's deck. Quite good. And 6 of the most relevant cards. The 6 of the cards that can actually interact with Jack on the axis on which he wants to fight. Very, very good. You know, for his overall game plan. He doesn't have to worry about, you know, holding up Brainstorm to hide his goodies from the Thoughtseize, which doesn't really work in this deck anyway, since it has so many pieces. They just take the one that you can't put on top. And you don't have to, you know, ponder and keep 2 bad ones on top so you can have the good one underneath protecting Thoughtseize. None of those tricky shenanigans. You can just sculpt your hand free of any of those threats and create the ultimate position to go off through any sorts of disruption that Todd can have.
So here's a Dark Confidant for Anderson. He's going to pass his turn back, as Hatton does have just that Flooded Strand and Island in play. You see a City of Traders. It looks like he's going to slide into play as well. And again, this is really nice for him because if we're going to have a battle over counter magic, the deck with Force of Will and Pact Negation is much more favored. As you see, Anderson has a Force of Will, removing Jace. Looks like Hatton has a Force of Will in his hand, and he's moving that to the forefront. He's going to sacrifice a Flooded Strand to begin.
This looks like it might just be a Brainstorm to try and like get more information. I'm pretty sure it does have a Force and another blue card, but it's like, is that the blue card I want to pitch?
Yeah.
Do I have the Enter the Infinite? You know, what am I putting into play with the Show and Tell, all that good stuff. Yeah, so we'll see what he chooses to do here.
See a hand of Brainstorm, and he's going to lead off with a Brainstorm.
Yeah, it makes sense. Might as well get the most information. Because, like, if you have another Show and Tell, you don't necessarily want to fight over this one. And if you don't have anything to put into play with the Show and Tell, then you don't really want to fight it.
You see his hand of, it was Island. He has a Dream Halls and Enter the Infinite in his hand. So he's going to Force a Will here. He's going to remove Brainstorm. So this is going to happen.
So what's going to happen now, it looks like, is the Dream Halls is going to enter play, but he doesn't have a card to pitch to cast the Enter the Infinite
So
yet.
he needs a blue card.
Which he knows is on top of his deck, but if Todd could find like a Vindicator Disenchant, he could actually close it out right now. And he has a Jace in hand. If he has another blue card, ooh, he doesn't. If he had another blue card, he'd be able to pitch the blue card to cast Jace, which is pretty sweet, a free Jace.
But he would not be able to Fate Seal because he can't target.
Oh, he can't even target him. Yep, and here it comes.
It's an island.
I thought he had a Brainstorm on top.
He put 2 lands back. He put an island. He put 2 lands back.
So he's actually Brainstorm locked for a couple turns, and that Batterskull coming down is actually a significant clock.
So Bob is going to reveal a card. It's a Swamp.
This
Draw
is
another
a
card.
sick
He
game.
might actually lose this game. And oh my god, yeah.
Wow. Force of
Anderson
Will.
just drew Force of Will to go along with that Jace. Hatton might actually lose this game. So he's going to attack for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hatton's down to 4.
Jack's drawing dead. I mean, he has to draw like a Brainstorm, and Todd has to let it resolve. Like, Todd has to make a mistake. I'm pretty sure Jack is just drawing dead. He's obviously facing lethal. Todd has 1 counter, and Jack can only do 1 relevant thing.
Yeah, Jack's going to draw his card. Yeah, and he shows a blue card. Yeah, because he put 2 lands back. And that's it.
Todd's like, had it anyway. That was a sick game. I thought for sure, I mean, my eyes deceived me. I thought for sure he put a blue card on top, and I was just like, Todd needs to dig, and he has nothing. But wow, Jack was actually Brainstorm locked for a couple turns, and Todd putting a Batterskull into play. A naturally drawn Batterskull.
The big one there too is, you know, he put his lands back in the wrong order. If he puts Island on bottom and then Flooded Strand next, because he drew Flooded Strand that turn.
Oh.
So
yeah, he could have shuffled in actually.
Yeah, so he put his lands back in the wrong order. He shuffles and then just to draw a mystery card, and his entire deck is full of blue cards except for Leyline and Sanctity. Todd ended up drawing Forcible in the last.
So it didn't matter.
So it didn't matter. But yeah, that actually, if he orders it the correct.